Hey everyone, David C. Anderson here, coming at you from the Knife Center, and welcome to episode 137 of Knife AQ, the series where I answer all of your knife questions, whether they're sharp or dull. This week, I've got a question for you. Is that a fixed blade in your pocket? Or are you just happy to be here? All right, so if you're new to this series, we take questions from our comments section below these videos and package them together with some answers for the video. So if you have a question and you would like it to be considered for a future episode, comment section below is right where you'll want to drop that question. First question today comes from MD Kushner. Hey DCA, I'm looking for a fixed blade that I can carry in my fifth pocket. I'm a big fan of micarta, but open to other handle types. Any suggestions? This is one of those ones where, like, right off the bat, immediately it was like, well, first of all, if you're not familiar with what we talk about as fifth pocket carry, it's that little fifth pocket in a pair of blue jeans, a little watch pocket, coin pocket, goes by a few different names. But it's a little guy. It's not much space. And my first reaction was, no way, moving on. I was ready to dismiss the question, but then I actually started thinking about it and realized there's actually way more options than I thought there were once you kind of open up to the idea of it. We're just going to have to basically stick to small stuff, obviously. Stuff in the neck knife genre is a good place to start because you're already dealing with a compact package overall. And really a lot of it's also going to depend a bit on the sheath. That being said, there are a lot of things out there that could fit in that fifth pocket, especially if you don't need it to kind of latch onto the pocket at all. If it just needs to float in there inside its sheath in that pocket, ton of great stuff. So I was able to just have some micarta options here. I didn't have to stretch for some extra stuff. So here they are. So my favorite option is this knife right here. And showing these in the sheath first, this is the MKM Micro. The Micro 1 with the drop point, but a sheep's foot is also available, or a reverse tanto, if you want to call it that, Thomas.
It is.
These are about $95, and well, here's the knife. You've got a 2-inch blade of M390 steel, a little bit of a pocket wedge right there. There's some durability in this, despite its smaller size. Stonewashed finish and natural or green micarta handles available. Kind of a 2 to 2.5 finger grip, depending on your hand size, but doesn't feel too slippy, and it pinches really nicely for detailed tip work. And this sheath actually works really well. We actually have a one of the skeletonized versions of this. You can just pop the scales off if you want, and we tested it out. We have like an office copy that's sitting over there, and the cool thing about this, with its magnetic flap on the leather sheath, you can actually drop that in that fifth pocket and have the magnet flop over and hold it in place. Flop sounds bad, but it's kind of what it does.
It's the opposite of flip.
Yeah. And it will hold it in place, and you can actually draw this from the sheath while the sheath stays put in the pocket, and then it's ready to stick back in there. And you don't have a ton sticking up above that fifth pocket. You're certainly not going to be getting past your belt line in any case. So hopefully that would be pretty unobtrusive. You could, of course, flip this around and let it sit deeper in your watch pocket, your fifth pocket as well, if you like. But this is a pretty good option for sure. Keeping in mind, of course, the size of said pocket can vary wildly between manufacturers or even within a company's own lineup, depending on the cut. And this one is kind of one of the smallest options with a micarta handle that will get the job done, I think. So check that out, but I do have a couple more. Firstly, we have the Boker Gnome. This comes in about $59. It has just a simple Kydex sheath here, and at least in my fifth pocket, I can bury this whole thing in that pocket, especially if you angle it a little bit like so. Very easy to keep unobtrusive, and it's not so fat, even though you have a little bit of thickness from the handles, that you can't get into your pocket around it. But Kydex sheath, D2 blade, just over 2 inches, sheep's foot profile with a hollow grind to keep that edge a little bit thinner. I should mention the MKM has an almost full flat grind to give you an idea of the geometry there. Burlap micarta handles on this with red liners, nice pop of color there. And this is a 1.5 to 2 finger knife handle, depending on your hand size. Definitely doesn't give you quite as much to hold on to. Not terrible though. I mean, it's something about the bulge and the beak right here. Those 2 fingers can grip it pretty well, and your thumb can kind of play a little part of the role of, gripping that handle, holding it secure for those types of, whatever you need a small knife like this for, box cutting, package opening, that sort of thing. This knife pinches really well too, and the sheep's foot profile, you'll be able to use that tip fairly accurately too, as opposed to a more upswept tip. Pretty cool stuff. Yeah, 59 bucks. Fit and finish on it is great. D2 steel. It's going to work out quite well for you. If you'd rather have a stainless, one more I like is this QSP Canary. A little bit more long, not quite as squat in its dimensions, but still fits down in that pocket really well. You have probably a little bit of handle sticking up, which is why I'm showing you the version with the denim micarta handles here, because the denim might blend into the denim of your jeans, which is the style of pant that usually has that 5th pocket. So that, keep it from being too shouty in any case. 53.5 bucks for this Sandvik 14C 28N blade steel. You can get this denim version with the black stonewash or a satin finish. They both come with some really cool file work on the spine. Really nice little touch, adds a little bit of traction too. Bit more of a conventional blade shape, 2.5 inches here, so you get a little bit extra. Thin enough with a nice high grind, flat grind in this case, that is going to slice pretty well. And about a 3 to 3.5 finger grip. 3.5 for me, but my hands are slightly larger than average. If you've got smaller hands, you might be able to get a little bit more of that 3rd finger on there. Here, I'll show you kind of how that lines up. Now on any of these sheaths, these Kydex sheaths anyway, you could of course apply something like an ulti-clip to it if you need or desire something that's actually going to fix that knife in the pocket so it's not moving around. That is an option, but when you do that on this pocket, you have a little bit more sticking up out of the pocket if you go that direction. So keep that in mind. Again, everyone's pocket positioning and size is going to be different. So yeah, your mileage may vary essentially there. And one more to take a look at, the Tops Knives 3 Bros neck knife, the 3 Brothers. Well, here's the sheath. Nice and squared off. It is flat on the back side, which should help it lay even flatter along your what's the word? Leg. Body at the same time, and also kind of help to keep it oriented straight up and down. There's some, depending on your watch pocket size, your 5th pocket size, this could actually sit rather snugly in there, which could be pretty cool. 87 bucks, 1095 carbon steel here. Essentially like a micarta ball on the end. It is 2 scales, but it forms a kind of, just a circle of micarta for the handle there to give you something to grab onto. But there are 3 blade shapes to choose from. There is this one right here, which is kind of technically a clip point, but some might decide to call it a reverse Tonto. Some might. It's a little bit like the tip anyway, is a little bit like the Benchmade 940 Osborne, which of course gave rise to the reverse Tonto nomenclature. There is also an actual Tonto available and a sheep's foot, so you can tailor this to whichever one of those you prefer. Good feel in the hand right here. Kind of that ball for me sits between the middle and ring finger. But again, using your thumb on the jimping here to help secure that, you can get a pretty secure hold on the knife. Sometimes it is surprising how secure of a hold it can feel like, even though it's a small size. And of course it pinches really nicely too. 1095 is not corrosion resistant, so keep that in mind, it being so close to your body. But it's good, tough stuff. So hope that helps. Just if none of these kind of strike your fancy or you want to open things up, just keep an eye out for the small blades. Usually about 2 inches is going to be about the max. Search neck knife, filter by blade size on our website. You can do all of that on there quite easily. I'll show you some other things that might work too. Hope that helps. Next up, Asher Parker says, hello to the ever-wise DCA, and of course the king of nihilism, Thomas.
I mean, I'm cynical, but...
Yeah, nihilism, that'd be just so exhausting.
I believe in a few things.
I am looking for a, do you?
Provolone.
I'm looking for a decently cheap pocket fixed blade with a finger ring, like a Karambit for easy deployment, but with a more EDC-friendly blade shape than a hawkbill. Do you have any suggestions around the $50 mark? A decent amount above or below doesn't hurt either. Thank you. I love this. I love pocket fixed blades, so I love talking about them. So this is why you have a second pocket fixed blade question in today's episode. Now, we did do a video on just pocket fixed blades in general before. You can see a link for it up here in the video, I'm sure. But these two questions are kind of going at it from a different mindset, like the fifth pocket fixed blade and the finger ringed pocket fixed blade. So that's why I'm having fun with this one. This one was tougher. Most beringed sharp things that would work well for this kind of utilitarian purpose don't come with a sheath that's going to work very well for pocket carry. I got a few here that are kind of going to get the job done, but with a couple of these examples and with a lot of other things that size-wise otherwise would make sense, you may have to consider getting a custom sheath made to make it more appropriate or more useful for pocket carry. But we'll get to these. The only one really underneath your $50 price point that works for me is the Cold Steel Bird and Game. It's about 20 bucks. For that, you've got a polymer handle. The steel is AUS 8, which is actually kind of impressive for just $20. Plenty of length here too. It's got about a 3.5-inch blade, full flat grind on that easy drop point shape. Very, very nice shape for everyday carry and just general utility, whether it's bird and game, which is not general EDC stuff, but it's going to work well for that. As such, it's also going to work for food prep. This would make a great little paring knife, and of course, slicey EDC, and you've got that finger ring for easy extraction. Now, here's where we talk about the sheaths. This one could probably be made to work. It is Securex. You do have a couple holes right here, but you are going to need to purchase likely something like an Ulti-Clip, which we talked about here a moment ago. And even with the price of that in here, you're going to be underneath 50 bucks. So you get one of the ones with the slotted system here, so you can meet, go where you need to go with the holes on here. And yeah, you're going to be able to fit there, but it is going to be hitting kind of the edge or the part where the sheath swells out to fit the handle. You may have to get some deeper fasteners to gap this out a little bit. Mileage may vary on this one. It's not a perfect solution, but could be made to work, I think. But if you do make it work, honestly, this is a great little blade. An AUS 8 fixed blade for 20 bucks. I am actually really continually impressed that they're able to maintain that, because it's good stuff. Next one that would also do the job with the inclusion or the extra of an Ulti-Clip. Although it does come with a sort of pocket clip that works. It's going to hold it kind of high out of your pocket though. And that is the Essie Azula. 1095 carbon here, but they do have S35VN versions as well. But the carbon steel versions right now we have for about 68 bucks. And hang on, there we go. There is the sheath. It's hard plastic. Your Ulti-Clip, where did I put it? Right here, is going to work quite nicely on that. Should hold, let me just line it up there. Probably even deepen it a little bit. So you'll have about that much sticking up out of the pocket if you want. Now, it's not a Karambit style finger ring, but there is that ring there. If you want that for that extra push off, you've got it. You will then have to adjust your grip, however. So that may or may not quite hit what you need because of that ring style, but it's a great blade here. Almost 3 inches, full flat ground, drop point. There's a bit of an angle to the blade. It angles down so you can use the tip a little more effectively, but it still gives you a ton of belly for just broader slicing needs. Great little knife design. So that is a bit above the price point. I'm going to get another one here that's a bit above before I break the $100 mark, just for the sake of giving you some more options. This one you are going to need, I think, a custom sheath for, but it's a cool knife, albeit a little bit interesting or different looking. The K-Bar Snake Charmer, Mike Snowdy design. This is about $78. S35VN, great blade shape, hollow ground, S35VN drop point, about 2¼ inches. The handle here may look a bit unusual, but it actually fits in that hand quite nicely. Even for my slightly larger than average hands, I can have my pinky in the ring and still get a comfortable grip on that knife. If you need to push through something, you can definitely have the security you need. For more delicate stuff, it does that too. The sheath is going to be a problem though for the pocket carry you talked about. It's just got one ring here at the top. Not going to be able to have a very easy way to make this a stationary pocket fixed blade. If you do just want to drop it in there, sure, you can do that. But with a custom sheath, this could be a very cool option indeed. So of those three, I think the Izula is probably the strongest right out of the box for actually working for this. But even so, I think with an ulti-clip, it would work more properly. If we increase the budget a fair bit, since you did mention that, there are a couple things right out of the box that I think are going to work. The first is the Bastinelli Spade, a Doug Marcaida design. This comes, with an ulti-clip included for attaching to the sheath, that's the word, and runs about 160 bucks. Now, if you're not familiar with an ulti-clip, we haven't actually talked about it, even though we've talked about it. You've got a pressure tab right there. You're able to slide that into your pocket and then clamp it down. So that's not going anywhere once it's fixed in place. And this spade is going to be very easy to get to. You can have it buried pretty deep in the pocket too, not too much showing. Reach in there with your pinky, just move my fingers out of the way just in case, and you're able to pull it out quite easily. Stubby little blade, but that is kind of the trade-off you get for a full usable handle while still being able to really bury it in the pocket. 1 3/4 inch blade, N690. It's just a little arrowhead, basically, type of style. High flat grind with a swedge, comfortable in the hand. All the edges are crowned and comfy, made in Italy by Fox, as you can see right there. Really, really cool option in my opinion. And one more, and this is another one that's a little outside what you might be thinking of, and that is the RMJ Stabby Guy. I love RMJ's names. They come up with a lot of cool stuff. This is kind of a cross between a pry bar and a blade, but at 240 bucks, this is US made, 3V steel with that J-style hook right there, which will latch into your pocket pretty easily. If you'd rather have an ulti-clip, you'd be able to make it work here too. But grab that, and here you go. It's a big hunk of 3V with a sharpened leading edge. Almost chisel-like, but not quite chisel-y because you do have a sharpened bevel on the backside. So it's not gonna do a lot of slicing for you, but if you're, what you need it for is either self-defense, it's gonna do it. If you're just kind of popping the tape on boxes, scoring through packaging to open it, this will do the job and look pretty cool doing it. So both of those are options. Beyond that, there are other things that are ringy that could fit in a pocket. A lot of them do have sheaths that will work with an ulti-clip, such as this Tor right here. This is, what's the name of it? Sorry, the Viper Outlaw at about $195. But you are going to have a fair bit sticking out above the pocket. So that is something to just consider. Again, if that's okay with you, there are even more things on the website you can check out. But this one's pretty cool, I think. 2 5/8 inch blade, kind of arrowhead, wedgy-like the spade we just looked at. D2 steel, stone-washed black with a walnut handle, and pretty comfortable in the hand, pretty durable feeling. Check those out. Hope that helps. All right, now we come to the lightning round for today. First one from Daniel Cheeseburger 7. Hi DCA, I'm not sure it has been asked in the past, but when you sharpen, do you go handle to tip or tip to handle? And is there a 100% proper way to sharpen any blade? Any specific routine that should be done? How do you do it? Well, me personally, I'll just use the birding game here. This is my personal thing. I'm usually sharpening heel to tip when I'm using stones. But, what was the terminology you said? Is there a 100% proper way to sharpen any blade? Short answer, no. As long as you're getting good results, then it's legit, right? Like you're not, the proof is in the pudding, or the proof is in the cutting in this case. You can certainly do tip to heel. I know some folks that do that, although heel to tip is probably more prevalent. But honestly, sometimes I'll be sharpening in little circles. That's kind of an older school method that I've grown pretty comfortable with. So you're doing both in that type of motion. Short answer, no. If you're getting good results, then you're getting good results, and that's what matters. Next question comes from Midnight BS9TR. Why are so many high-end companies still doing frame locks? Were you to take a poll across your socials, if you haven't already recently, I'd bet a lot of money that it would be towards the bottom of the list. Well, the reason so many companies are still doing it is they still sell, quite honestly. I mean, we see new releases all the time, such as this new Ken Onion design, the Carbon Tidbit, made in Taiwan, $80. They sell, and that's often a difference between social media is kind of like reality TV. It's not always representative of reality, right? In certain niches, especially people as passionate as you or me about knives, we have our strong opinions, and those can, kind of channel themselves and take on a life of their own sometimes and become the truth. But the truth is in what people actually buy, and frame locks still sell like a lot.
Still work too.
They still work too. I mean, yeah. I get it though. Personally, frame locks mostly don't interest me. I don't have a ton in my collection. In fact, I only have one frame lock, titanium frame lock flipper in my collection at all right now. But that's just me. But to each their own. Everyone who likes it, keep going. All right, now we come to our final question of the day, which is, of course, our most serious question of the day, which comes from Danger Dad. Serious questions. How many knives does it take to screw in a light bulb? Well, we're going to find out. That's what this is here for, if you've been wondering. And I've selected my knives carefully because I think we can do it with two. The Gerber Gator is the perfect knife to do this, I think. We're going to find out. Why, you ask? Well, the handles are rubberized, so you get a little bit of grip. And check out that inside curve to the handle. I think that's going to hug the light bulb pretty nicely as we rotate.
And insulation.
I didn't even think of that. That's a great point.
Safety third.
What he said. All right, here we go, you guys. Carefully. The answer is 2 Gerber Gators. Well, I hope that helps, and hope you can all rest easy with the knowledge of that answer in your head. Thanks for all your questions, folks. Remember, keep leaving them down below. We need your questions, and I need more most serious questions. Keep those coming, please and thank you. Let me know what you thought of the answers. If you have some alternate suggestions, we'd love to hear them as well. And if you want to get your hands on any of these knives, check out the links in the description to take you to KnifeCenter.com. Where don't forget about our long-running Knife Rewards program, where you can earn up to 5% back on your knife purchases to help offset the cost of a new one. I'm David C. Anderson from the Knife Center. That's Thomas behind the camera, and we're signing off. See you next time. You can hold it up here above my head and make people think I actually had a good idea once in a while.